Greetings, it's VJ, the brother from the ancient mother, and you know, it's another Headspace album review, project review, mixtape review, whatever project that comes through. We are here to talk about it, investigate it, instigate within it, and just talk about the artist's vision and try to see if they have hit the target of their conceptual aspirations. Now, the artist whose project I'm reviewing is an MC from Cape Town. Got a couple of projects under his belt, navigating around that scene in a lane that sets him apart in this particular kind of way. Now, South Africa is a country where the term colored tends to be contextualized in ways that are peculiar to the rest of the world. Here, it is a term which started off as a way for whiteness to separate those amongst the black who were in closer English bundles, guys, proximity to whiteness, whether be it in their genetic ancestry, whether be it through their skin tone, whether be it to the fact that they weren't direct inhabitants of the land but were more descendants of those who were brought as indentured slaves. The term clearing was a divisive term made simply to divide and conquer. But as history does, the conflicts and nuances created something which is pretty much a culture from it. There are people in South Africa who proudly refer to themselves as colored. And as for the politics of whether or not that is something powerful to do, this is not the episode for it. The one thing I know is that there is a sense of feeling neglected and at the very most probably feeling endangered that the colored community in South Africa feels. So as a result, a lot of projects have this ruminating sense of unity, this impactful sticking together at all costs because the movement feels isolated from the general South African hip-hop, in particular rap music space. And a lot of these messages carry a subtle angst to them. They carry a lot of internalized struggle to try and understand the place of coloredness as an identity, to try and understand how to repair the massive social ills caused by, of course, blackness as it manifests itself because it is a weapon of whiteness. So MJoyner, aka MJoyner's latest project, OK, is a testament to the constant therapy of colored people, the struggling to be well. He does this in the context of rap, which I feel is phenomenal because there are very few and far between of an MC who literally dedicate a whole body of work to therapy. Now, Kendrick Lamar, as of recently, dedicated a whole 2-disc album to the purpose of investigating the soul's journey, talking about real issues of plight and turmoil, and a lot felt it was his weakest project to date. And I think this is where the challenge lies with rap music. Rap has been in the context of escapism so long that it is fucking difficult to talk about real psychological issues and still make people dance. Whether or not that's the point is another issue, but the fact that rap tends to be funneled into this place where, I don't know, it has to make sense to some kind of popular appeal is a counterproductive mechanism that has worked at the disadvantage of many an MC. Only the brave have attempted to either ignore or try to synthesize a delicate balance of internal negotiation of the heart while still learning how to just make good arrangements and simple songs that speak to a spirit of dance but have a subliminal message that really speaks about something a little bit more profound. What does MJoyner do here? Which one of the two does he do? Does he completely rid himself of the pressure to make tracks with general mass appeal to the club? Or does he try to balance the health of the heart with the money of the game. Act As Okay is a 5-track confessional that sticks to the soundscape that doesn't go beyond the melancholic. In other words, it's a sad motherfucking album. He speaks to the pain in ways that are very direct, but he does them in a way where he's comforting himself. He's saying that if anybody is going to take responsibility for all the things that have happened, it's gonna have to be me. I'm gonna have to understand how to fight my own demons, which is the first track, which is a mellow inward path into who Matthew is and the things that he has gone through. It is followed by MJoyner, which, as the title again says, is an introspective look at how the possible ills of the community could be re-engineered, and how he as a microcosm, as an expression of the community, is part and parcel of that change. He's not separate from it. Famously, what Matthew is saying in this project is we can't change the world unless we change ourselves. So what it is that it's a simple mantra for self-transformation in the lens that Matthew sees fit, which simply just means take it one step at a time, be accountable for your actions, have remorse for the past, and try to understand how to move wisely as you take slow incremental steps towards a brighter future. He says that with a style which is very minimalist but kind of bathed in swagger and self-confidence. Kind of reminds me of that Rick Ross aesthetic, because he speaks to the spirit of being a boss, but the irony is that it has nothing to do with money directly. He's a boss in the sense that he can own his own problems. He's a boss in the sense that he can own his challenges and he can own up to the things he needs to change about himself. And by God, I think that's actually the true definition of being a boss. It has nothing to do with what you have. It's the mindset you use to try and get anything to begin with. And I think MJoyner, through Act As Okay, tries really well to give us a sense of therapy through rap, particularly for the color community. He's rapping in Afrikaans, so if you look at the market value for the language in South Africa, it's pretty narrow. But the music in and of itself, sonically, is broad enough to relate with you if you like your music motivational. It's a bit of a nod to an earlier project we reviewed from Lolly Native, who spoke in a slang and a dialogue which was particularly Cape Town and Iskasi, but was really just giving a spiritual message of upliftment. I feel Matthew is the flip side of that coin, still speaking to his own people first, but anybody who's willing to listen and anybody who the message really resonates with. And I think if you like your bars sprinkled with motivation, if you like your bars simplistic, if you don't want ultra complex raps about imaginary MCs that need to be defeated, if you like music to be about the groundingness in everyday life and how to just get over simple problems, you will really like this project. One hitch that doesn't quite open it into the mark of being a phenomenal project is the production does tend to get a little bit monotonous. Like I said, the palette of this project is deliberately sad, but I feel they could have sparkled it up with tones of upliftment, because when we're talking about the journey within, when we're talking about a depth psychology, we're not really talking gloom, we're talking depth. And depth isn't gloomy. Depth simply means the courage to go deep into the things that you struggle with. But that doesn't have to be a tumultuously depressing process. You could do that with pride and confidence in ways where the color scope of the sound kind of feels a little bit more upbeat. So I really do feel it does tend to be sonically a bit of a drab, which limits its capacity to be anything other than a project you could listen to personally. This feels like a headphone listen by yourself, kind of like actual therapy. It doesn't feel like anything social, engaging with the masses. As a result, I don't see this banging in the car in social outings, nor do I see banging in the clubs. This really is a project which is a private conversation between you, the listener, and Matthew. And that might not necessarily even be a bad thing, but for a musical project, it does make it one-dimensional. So as a result, for me, this project really just only hits the 5 out of 10 mark. It is sonically average at best and carried by Matthew's real strong-willed lyrical determination, and as an MC, he's definitely one who's pleasant to listen to, know his ways around the corners and pockets. So as a result, it might not be a phenomenal masterpiece or a piece of culture bridging art, but what it is a constant reminder that we need music that gets us back into a place where we assess who we are and where we are in life. So its value is really on the psychological level. Commercially and culturally, it doesn't have direct resonance. This is not the project that's gonna do anything phenomenally life-changing for Matthew's career, and maybe that's not even his intention, because it just feels like the man wants to bare his soul, and anybody who's willing to come along for the ride is privileged. I felt privileged, and I hope you feel privileged too. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. I want to shout out to MJoyner. Maybe we really need this kind of hip-hop, and if you can be a stalwart and a representative of this kind of music and stick with this mold, don't remove yourself from the introspection, but perhaps if you're trying to go bigger and better with this, find ways where it can translate itself to music that is motivational. I'm not going to name MCs who I felt have done this, because I want to give MJoyner the opportunity to prove himself to be the MC I think he is, and I know many of you know if you're a fan. Other than that, it is so good to live in a time where artists are still brave enough to make music simply for the soul. Shout out.